Hey guys, and happy Monday. Hope you had an awesome weekend and you're ready for another great week together. I asked my sixth graders to send me some math memes that they found online if they were sick of seeing my corny jokes. So if you look above, this is a meme that one of my sixth grade math students sent to me. So hopefully it makes you laugh because it made me laugh today. And you guys too, feel free to send me some memes or some math jokes if you find them. Just send them to me through email, or you could even share them on Google Stream in our Google Classroom. So as always, before we jump into a brand new unit today, woohoo, make sure you have everything you need. I would suggest you having a math notebook or whatever you've been using to keep track of notes or practice problems, have that handy. Also make sure your Chromebook is charged and ready to go. And we're gonna dive into our learning goal, which is going to be learning about integers, positive and negative whole numbers. So that is our new unit. We have wrapped up rates, ratios, and tied them into percents, and we're ready to move on to integers. This unit will span us probably the next 2 weeks, this week and next week. We'll cover everything from an introduction today, adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing, word problems, absolute value, comparing and ordering. There's a lot covered in integers, but it's usually one of my favorite topics to teach, and it's something that is super, super important from the sixth grade material. So this continues to be a sixth grade standard, so you'll really want a strong foundation of integers when you're going into pre-algebra next year. All right, so before we get into integers, I just want to talk a little bit about notes and reminders for this week. So same Google Meet groups that we've been having on Monday and Wednesday. You know your groups by now. Friday will remain optional. So important, guys. Please, 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 I'm begging you to remember to press turn in on your assignments in Google Classroom. It's really helpful for me, so then I don't have to go through and click to see if you did your work. I'm gonna start counting it as late if you don't turn it in, so that might be something to do just at the end of the day. Go back into our Google Classroom, make sure you've hit turn it in so I can check it and you get credit for having your assignment in on time. I'm also going to continue sending the Friday missing work emails. So those are emails that I send to you, and I usually copy your parents on them just to keep them in the loop. Sometimes it's just you forgot to answer a power problem. Sometimes it's a little bit bigger, like you forgot to do an assignment or that your assignments are usually late. So I'm going to continue to do that. If you want to prevent that from happening, make sure you're doing your work on time. Of course, things happen, we forget, we get busy, but please make sure you're emailing me if you know an assignment will be late. Today's video is going to be pretty long, so settle in because it's going to cover information on Monday through Wednesday. So there's going to be a lot in here, so you might want to jot down some notes or make sure you know where to find this video so you can come and watch it throughout the week. All right, let's jump right in. We're talking about integers. Here are some notes for you, so jotting some of these down might be helpful. So what are integers? Integers are all around us. You actually use them and experience them more than you probably realize. They are positive or negative whole numbers. Another way of saying that is a set of all whole numbers and their opposite. For example, if you had the number 5, the opposite of 5 would be negative 5. So you have 5 and its opposite. If you had negative 18, its opposite on the number line would be a positive 18. So you often hear people refer to integers as whole numbers, positive whole numbers, and their opposites, which are negative numbers. So every integer has an opposite. It's positive or it's negative. All right, and the opposite numbers are the same distance from 0. So take a look at this number line. We have a 2 and a negative 2. 2 is 1, 2, hops from 0. Negative 2 is also 1, 2, hops from 0. So that's what makes them opposite, because they're equidistant from 0. So when we talk about 0, we also include 0 as an integer, but 0 is not positive and it's not negative. So 0 is actually what we call neutral. It's a neutral number. So it's included in the integer family, but we don't classify it as positive or negative. You might be thinking, all right, Ms. Phillips, you said that I use integers. You said that I probably don't realize how much they're around me. What are you talking about? Take a look up here. We have some real world examples. So in football, or any sport for that matter, if you gain yards in a football game, that's positive. If you go shopping around the holidays, or if you're spending way too much on Amazon like me, if you're spending money, that's going to be negative. That's taking that out of your bank account and putting it into a company's hands. So spending money would be represented by a negative. 10 feet below sea level would also be negative. So sea level is at 0. 10 feet below would be represented by negative 10. Other examples of positive and negative whole numbers could also be temperature. When we hear temperature below 0, that could also be a negative. All right, I'm sure your brains are going right now as you think of more and more real life examples. We talked a little bit about integers and their opposites being the same distance from 0. When we talk about the distance from 0, we're also going to talk about absolute value. Here's my little number line. These are opposites. One is positive, one is negative, but they share the same absolute value, because absolute value is just the distance between the number and 0 on the number line. So again, positive 2, positive 2 is 2 hops away from 0. Negative 2 is also 2 hops away from 0. So we would say that the absolute value of 2 is 2. The absolute value of negative 2 is also 2. Absolute value, again, is just counting how far an integer is from 0. We represent absolute value with 2 straight lines, almost like a field goal posts. So if I was asking you what the absolute value of negative 6 is, I would show it like this. This means absolute value of negative 6. Remember, absolute value is just how many places it is from 0. So how many hops away from 0 is negative 6? What do you think? 6. Yes. So the absolute value of negative 6 is 6. It is 6 hops away from 0. How about the absolute value of 75? How far away is 75 from 0? It's 75 hops. So I'm going to cover my face with the whiteboard for a minute. Hopefully you are noticing a pattern here, that absolute value is always positive. Absolute value is always positive because it's just counting the hops that a number is from 0. So there's also some examples down here. Again, if you want to jot any of this down, this would be a good note page, or even if you want to pause it and take a screenshot of it, might be good to hold on to. And our final thing that we're going to chat about today that's just going to kind of bring this all together is comparing and ordering integers. Remember, the numbers to the right of the number line here are our positive integers. The numbers to the left of 0 are our negative integers. So the further and further and further that we go in one direction, so let's say we're going right, the further we go right, the greater our numbers are going to be because they're moving further and further from 0. The more we go to the left, what's happening to the numbers? They're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Think about it. Would you rather owe your friend $10 or owe your friend $2? I'd rather owe my friend $0, but if I had to owe them something, I'd rather owe them $2 because it's closer to 0. So I want you to give this problem a try. Give me 1 second. Let's order these integers from greatest to least. Okay, so take a moment and order these numbers from greatest to least. Pause this video and do it. I'm going to pause also, and then we'll compare ordering our integers from greatest to least. Okay, are you ready? Again, greatest to least. So we're thinking all the way on the right to 0 to the left, least. So if we ordered these, this is how it would end up. 10 is the greatest, followed by 4, 0, -2, -10. -10 is my smallest number because it's the furthest to the left of 0. All right, I'm going to come up with another one. Hold on 1 second. Let me write it down for you. This time, we're going to flip our order. So let's order least to greatest. All right. All right, from least to greatest, I would like you to order -16, 5, the absolute value of -3, 9, -2. Pause here, order from least to greatest, and I'll see you in a minute. All right, here's what I got. Smallest, -16, because it's the furthest to the left of 0, then -2, then I put 3. If you're asking yourself, Miss Phillips, it was absolute value of -3. Remember, absolute value of -3 is 3 because those absolute value lines just mean the distance from 0. So I have 3, 5, and then 9. The biggest takeaway today that I want you to remember is that an integer is a positive or negative whole number. Absolute value is always positive. It's just counting the spaces from 0. And we can compare and order integers just like we would any other number. Now, sometimes you'll see problems that are trying to trick you a little bit. They might ask you, is -2/3 an integer? It's not an integer because it's not a whole number. It's less than one whole. It's not a whole number. So that's not an integer. What do you think about -8/4? Do you think -8/4 is an integer? At first you might look at that and think, oh no, that's a fraction, it's not an integer. But I want you to think about what type of fraction it is. It's improper. Remember, fraction bar means division. What's 8 divided by 4? 2. So -8/4 is just another way of saying -2. Is -2 an integer? Yep. So -8/4 is also an integer. So you do have to be careful and use your knowledge and your understanding of everything we've learned about fractions and decimals and whole numbers throughout this year and even from last year. If you saw 6/6, what do you think, integer or not? 6/6 is the same as 1 whole. So yes, that would be an integer. How about 5 and 10/5? Yep, also an integer because 10/5 is the same as 2. And 5 plus 2 would be 7, which is a whole number. So don't forget, everything in math connects together. Use all of that understanding that you have throughout the year, and I look forward to working on integers with you guys. Let me know what questions you have. Bye.